I helped design a McMansion, and I don't know how to feel about it. So I'm hoping for a do-over. Because this really brings up a question in architecture and design. When a client comes to you with something that's not your cup of tea, at what point do you step in and provide an alternative? So many years ago, early in my career, I worked for another architecture firm, and we had a client come to us and essentially asked us for this huge 2-story house with all the typical traits of what we today would consider a McMansion. They wanted a grand foyer entry, theater room, dedicated exercise room, 4 bedrooms, 5 baths, and a facade that felt like it just lacked character or direction. Now, I'm not one to judge people's tastes, as everyone has what they like and, everyone has design opinions. But what I did have a problem with is the more I thought about it over the years, the more it felt like we were designing around an idea of what an impressive dream home was supposed to have, rather than around this couple's actual lifestyle. The original floor plan would have probably worked for somebody, but in meeting with this original client, I remember it didn't feel like it matched them at all. They were an empty nest couple and they like to travel, but were now wanting to settle down and have a home base. A place where they can age in place and have opportunities for visits from family and friends. They wanted to entertain guests and enjoyed the energy and atmosphere of an open plan. But here's what didn't work. They weren't really screen people. They didn't watch a lot of movies or TV. So I felt like, why are we giving them a dedicated theater room besides that it just sounds cool to have? They didn't really play pool or games, but we were giving them a game room. These would be great features for the days when the grandkids may come over, but in reality, their kids lived pretty far away, so that'd be very infrequent. They weren't really fitness people, so why a dedicated exercise room? And if they're aging in place, would a 2-story make sense down the road? So I wanted to scrap the original plan and think through this with a different lens. If we didn't design this so generic, what would it look like to have a house that works for them? The first big picture idea I got from them is that they traveled a lot. But more importantly than that, I focused on how they traveled. They didn't travel to stay in hostels or villages. They were, to put it bluntly, fairly bougie, and that's okay. They liked resorts and resort living. They liked staying in 4 stars over bungalows. So overall, I felt like this house should have the features they loved about travel. Outdoor living, atmosphere, warmth, privacy, landscaping. The other big aspect of their life is that they're very extroverted, and they enjoy the buzz and atmosphere of groups and conversation. For me, as an introvert, I would never enjoy an open plan, but maybe in this case, it works for them. So this will have an open kitchen, living, dining combo, connected to an outdoor living area. But I'm still building in moments of retreat and breakout from the noise. Their master suite is separated and private from the main area, enough to feel like a break from the noise, and it gives a sense of a luxury suite tucked away into the corner of the house. It's a psychological sense of safety and security. I focused a lot of my time on what I'm considering the guest wing. I wanted to have a place where if guests or family stayed over, they had their own sense of place. Not like they were staying in an old bedroom that was converted, but like they had their own suite. But I also considered that this wouldn't be used every day throughout the year. So perhaps this also becomes the flex area, where it could be used as an exercise room or hobby room or converted when guests come over. As I build out the 3D model in Autodesk Revit, I'm remembering what the original floor plan was, and I'm starting to compare it again. The original design, I remember, was this massive 6,000 square foot, 2-story house that was huge and sort of meant to be impressive. And I started to question whether that was actually right for them. Because this design, it's only 3,500 square feet, nearly half the size of what the client wanted. But I still feel like this fits their lifestyle better. But is that just me placing my desires on their house? What role do we play in telling clients what they should do? If this were my client today, these are all conversations I would have now. But back then, I was just a young designer and just sat in the meetings listening with no real input. And it's been a few decades since this house was built, and I know that they don't even live in the house anymore because I drove by it the other day and saw a different family there. But that has me wondering, what if we had designed them something that better fit their life? Would they still be there? Probably impossible to know. They could have moved for a number of reasons, but it does make me wonder. When I start placing the furniture, it really solidifies it for me. The original design felt like it could be for anybody, in any location, and I remember wondering where they were going to spend most of their time. Here in this design, I can see them spending their days in different parts of the house constantly. Maybe their mornings are at the kitchen counter, having conversations about what their plans for the day are. Maybe in the afternoon, they head over to the guest suite area and do a quick exercise. Evenings could be spent on the outdoor plaza enjoying the sunset. And they end the day in a reading nook, curled up with a good book. Instead of dedicating entire rooms to things they only occasionally did, I'm trying to make more of the house useful for an ordinary Tuesday. This house now feels like a series of moments that truly fit what the client does on a day-to-day basis. It allows for opportunities for engagements and visits, but also feels calm and reserved when needed. It can allow them to age gracefully in the house and give them the same daily relaxation they felt when traveling. Material choices lean into that modern retreat aesthetic with clean materials but added warmth and comfort. Exterior shaded glass brings in daylight, while natural planting throughout softens the space. I'm reminded of hearing stories recounted to me of their favorite trips to Bali in the Caribbean, and I'm hoping that same feeling of luxury and relaxation comes through in this design. This is obviously a conceptual idea, as they aren't my client anymore, but I feel like if they were, this might fit them better. But then again, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe they do truly care more about the number of bedrooms and features, and who am I to judge that? There are certainly flaws in my design, just as there were flaws in the original design. But that's what's great about design. There's not one universal solution that works for everyone. Sometimes what works for one client would never work for another. I started this project because I felt bad about creating another McMansion in the world that had little character specific to this client, and I wanted a redo. But I don't think that's really what I ended up doing. I think I just started with the new house, around the people who are going to live there. And if there's anything I'd do differently now after all these years, it's not that I'd automatically make the house smaller or one story or open plan or closed plan. I'd just ask a lot more questions before I started drawing. I thought through how I would do this now as a seasoned architect and how different it might be, but I'm also thinking about the bigger picture. What works for me, or for you, may not work for another family living in a different area with a different lifestyle. And I think our job as professionals is to gather the information and provide informed opinions or decisions for the client and to have a true conversation with them. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this for me. It's not that McMansions or open plan designs or modernism are bad. It's that we just need to have more conversations about it. We need to really understand the needs of the individual users and provide them something that works for them. Anyways, that's just what I'm thinking about today. Thanks for coming along with me as I think through this. Remember, stay curious and design with intent.